So I really want to make sure that you get, if we have 100, and then 110, and 120, 130, you don't always have to start with u sub 1. You can, and then this would be u sub 2, and this would be u sub 3, and this would be u sub 4. That works really well if I want to know the fourth term. It's u sub 4. Okay? Why don't we just always do it that way? Because in the real world, this would not work. Because in the real world, you might say, we started and the temperature was 100 degrees outside. This doesn't happen in Minnesota very often. Let's say it's Arizona. And it went up 10 degrees after the first hour. As soon as I started telling you the Arizona story, you'd change this to u sub 0, because in the real world, it's best to say, what did you start with at time 0? And after 1 hour, u1, the temperature grew to 110. And after 2 hours, it was at 120. And after u3, that's 3 hours, you got 130. Do you see how they both are the same exact sequence? It's just how you want to label it. Because if you want to say after 3 hours, what's the temperature? You should do it this way. Because that's after 3 hours. And if you try to use U4 for after 3 hours, you're going to really get confused. But if you wanted to do these, you're doing like, what's the third term? And those are great and easy. Sometimes the problems are that way. But if it's a real world problem, use the yellow ones here and start with u sub 0. All right. So we entered one on the calculator that said n min was 0. Right away, you can tell that that would be for like a real world problem. Time is 0 at the beginning of the problem. It's like you started with, and then the third line was un min, and for some of you with a fancier calculator, it just knows to start with a 0 there because n min is 0. So your calculator's smart enough to put a 0 right here. All right, and I said it was going to be 5,000. And then the middle one's the hardest one. un minus 1. And on the calculator, you have to put that in parentheses because it doesn't have subscripts. And we put 1 plus 0.25. That was a 25% growth. What single thing would you change if I said your $5,000 is going to decay over time? I've had investments like that where I bought an investment and it's supposed to go up, but it doesn't, and it just goes down. And all of a sudden you put in money and it's worth less and less and less every year. It really sucks. It happens sometimes. So what single thing would I have to change to make this be 25% decay? Talk to that kid next to you. What one thing would you change? Make it decay. Just the plus has to turn to a minus. That's it. See, if I take out this plus 0.25 and I make it minus, that's going to make it shrink by 25%. See the difference? See, now I know some of you are like, what is this 1 minus 0.25? Can't I just put 0.75? You can. They are the same thing. 0.75 is 1 minus 0.25. It's the same thing. But see, if you write it this way, and I ask you, which I will, what's the percent decay? It'll be like, well, duh, it's 25% decay. If you write it like this, 0.75, and I say, what percent decay is it? Do you get it's not as easy to figure out that that's 25% decay? You got to like think about it for a minute. All right, so if I have you multiply by 1.3, is it going to grow or decay? It's going to grow because it's bigger than 1. What percent is it going to grow by? Don't say 3. It's not 3%. 30%. That'll be 30% growth. All right. How about if I had 0.9? Grow or decay? Decay. But not by 90%. It's only going to decay by 10%. Now, do I have to write it as 1 minus 0.1? No, but it's really smart because you see, look, it's decay. by 10%. So it's smart to write them this way. But this is equal, so I'll let you write it that way. But last thought about why it's smarter to write your decay or growth like this is because I know where you're going. And the real world problems we're going to be doing in the project all have to be written with a 1 plus or a 1 minus. They all start like this. And then this part, you divide by how often it decays. So like, let's say it's going down 10% monthly, then you divide by 12. So that would be if it decays by 10%, but it recalculates it every month. All right. Now I know you don't understand that totally yet, and that's okay. But are you hearing me that in the long run, you're going to have to write them with a 1 plus or a 1 minus? That's how they're all going to look. Because of this thing you're going to have to divide by later that you don't have to worry about right now. But when you are faced with the choice of, should I write 0.9 or should I write 1 minus 0.1, get used to the 1 plus or 1 minus. The kids that do it this way will get it right way more often, especially because the follow-up question is always going to be, what was the rate? And these kids are going to be like, I'm not sure. Is it 90%? Is it 9%? No, it isn't either one. It's 10% decay. All right. So there's one of your homework questions where it comes out with a 0.3 for the thing you multiply by. What would be a smarter way to write that? Don't say it, write it. Try writing this. You divide the two numbers, you get 0.3, and that's the thing you're going to multiply by. It's not wrong, but it would be smarter to say 1. And is that going to make it grow or decay? Decay. 1 minus. 1 minus what? 0.7. So then when I ask you what's the decay rate, it's easy. 70% decay. Okay. So here's a typical homework question for today. You got 100. Then you got 120. What's the decay or growth rate? I'll tell you, this was not just adding. We'll tell you, it's a geometric problem. And then you'll know, oh, can't be just adding 20. So then, what's the rate? And what's the ratio? I'll do this first one for you. You go 120 divided by 100. See the second one divided by the first one, and that tells you a ratio, 120 divided by 100. If I actually divide it and get the decimal, it's 1.2. That is called the common ratio. So what's the rate then? If you know it, say it. What's the rate? 20%. On the Schoology quiz, you'll be able to type 20% or 20 because they ask what percent is it. So 20 or 20%, don't put 0.2. If you're asking somebody for a percent, 0.2 could be a percent. See, there is such a thing as 0.2%. It's a really, really tiny percent. It's less than 1%, right? So if they ask you for, on today's Schoology quiz, type 20 or 20%. All right. So here's another one. A $38.50 coat gets marked up because they decide there's been so much inflation, we can charge more for our coats. And so we're going to charge $40 this year for the same coat. It happens. Prices go up. What percent did it go up? Take a second. Figure it out. And then write it as a 1 plus or a 1 minus. I don't get it. I'm getting 0.9625. That's right. There's nothing wrong with that. Is that what you got? when you divided them? Is that what you got? Oh, it's backwards. Aren't you supposed to do the 40 divided by the 38.5? Ah, so it's not that. So what do you actually get? Miss Carr, what did you get for the 40 divided by the 38.5?
1.04.
Did you cut it off, or is that the whole answer? Okay, let's keep going a little bit. 1.0 what? 389. Now that's a very valid point. Where do you round to? The ones we pick for Schoology quizzes usually don't go on forever. They'll be pretty short. But if you're ever forced to round, it'll have to say in the directions. And on our tests, we're very clear about what to round to. So if we say round to 2 decimal places, you did it perfect. Because that's typical. 2 decimal places. So let's take that and say it's 1.04. Cool. So then, 3 questions about it. Question number 1, was it growth or decay? It was growth. And if you just look at it, as you read from left to right, it's growing. And so it's, of course, growth. What percent growth is it? 4% growth. Good. What was the common ratio? The rate was 4%. You can put the percent or not in the Schoology quiz, but what's the common ratio?
1.04.
It is the 1.04. Maybe you should write that one down as an example for yourself. It's a really big deal to understand the difference between the rate and the common ratio. It's a really common mistake people make. All right. And the harder ones for people are not the growth, because if it's growth, it's so easy. It's like, well, the rate's right there. So easy. It's just sitting there. The harder ones are when it's shrinking. If we get deflation of some prices, we've had gas prices go down. Let's say it was at $4.10 a gallon, and it goes down to $3.80 a gallon. Would you figure out what the decay rate was? We know it's decay. Price went down. Let's go to 2 decimal places. Do you agree 0.93 is what you get when you divide them? This divided by that. If you round to 2 decimal places, that's what you get. 0.9268, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't know that 0.926 rounds to 0.93, newsflash, it does. Okay, so now, was it growth or decay? Decay. Can you write it as 1 plus or 1 minus something? Because if you can, you're going to be finding that rate that's the hardest part. The rate was not 93%. Did you figure out it's 1 minus 0.07? So it's 7% decay. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand that? Okay. So that's really typical homework question for today, except you got to be able to put them in the calculator too. If we were going to put this in the calculator, since I said it was about gas prices, it became a real world problem. And all of a sudden, U0 was this first term. This will be involved. And some un minus 1, all that stuff will be involved. So would you please, in your calculator, put this one in? Do you know how to put that in the calculator then? It's like there's 3 things. You got to know the data. you got to know how it looks as a I guess I could just call it a equation, but as a recursive formula. And then you got to know how to put it in the calculator. First thing they ask is n min. And since it's a real world problem, and this is the smallest n, it's 0. un minus 1. And then the last line is un min, which is 0 if you have the fancy calculator. And u sub 0 is, oh, it's given up there. Do you know how to put this in the calculator? If you do, then you'll be able to tell me what would gas prices be. This is making the assumption this was over 1 year. Let's say that we did this for 4 years. After 4 years, what would the gas prices be? This was the starting. This was U0. U1 is after 1 year. Yes?
Instead of an 0.93, put a 1 minus.
Absolutely. I love that you asked that. That'd be really smart, but you don't have to. I just want to make the point that that's especially handy if I ask what percent it was, which was 7% decay.
Would it give still the same?
It would still work, yep.
Okay.
Both of those would work. You could put in 0.93 in the calculator, or you could put 1 minus 0.07 in the calculator. Yes?
Can I get a charger?
Yeah, they're up on my desk. And you don't have to ask, you can just walk up.
Alright, sounds good.
There's a big one there with the big long cord. Okay, so now I asked you what it would be after, how many years did I say? I'll make sure I don't change it.
4.
4 years? All right. After 4 years, if you started with u sub 0 like you should have, then it's just u sub 4. It makes sense because you started right. If you want it after 4 years, then it's u sub 4. All right, so find u sub 4. Now, I want you to, in this case, go to the table for that, but go to your table settings to make sure you don't have a crazy table start. So, right now, find table set. It's up near the top. And make sure your table set, which is above the window, your table settings have you starting at 0. Table set. Start at 0. And then go ahead and go to the table. If you can get to the table and you can show me that u sub 4 is the same as what everybody else is getting, then I know you're on track and you're doing good. So I need to stop for a minute. Make sure you know how to put these in the calculator correctly. I'm going to pause while I go around and check. Okay, I think everybody's on track now. So, I actually want to start the homework. I think you're where you're supposed to be. If you understand things like, if I times by this, I'm growing by 7%. If I times by this, I'm shrinking by 7%. I'm decaying by 7%. So I think the best thing to do would be to start the Schoology quiz together. So, gotta wait. So, right now, open up the Schoology quiz. Once you're in the Schoology quiz, there's a list of numbers. Would you read me? A is numbers. It starts with 100 and something.
100, 150, 225, 337.5.
Okay, I got a little lost there. 100, 150, 225.
Yeah.
And then?
337.5.
Thank you. Okay. So your first job as you look at this is to go, is it just adding the same thing each time? Is it just adding? No. So it's not arithmetic. It must be what? Geometric. I already know one of the answers. It's geometric. And next thing is, what is that thing it's multiplying by? You go this divided by this. Now, some of you could probably do that in your head. What's 150 divided by 100? 1.5. 1.5. Good. So that is the key. You're multiplying by 1.5 each time. Next thing would you please write this? U1 equals 100. Now, how come I started with U1? Because is this a real world problem where they gave me context? Jim wanted to check gas prices? No. So if it's not a real world problem, always start with use of 1. Then it's easier. Okay, then you use UN equals UN minus 1. And that's going to go into the calculator every single time. It'll start with UN minus 1, right? And then, what do we multiply by? You just put a parentheses. You don't even need a multiply sign. You just need a parentheses. Because this would have been in parentheses already. You got two parentheses next to each other. The calculator's smart enough to know you don't even need a multiply sign there. And then always put 1 plus or 1 minus. In this case, it's 1 plus 0.5. Yes, 1.5 would have worked. But your calculator also understands 1 plus 0.5. And this is the way you're going to do it for the hardest problems on the test and for the final. So you might as well get used to the 1 plus or the 1 minus thing. Okay? So do it that way. It's really smart. Okay. And then the last thing is if you were actually writing this on a test, you'd say n is greater than or equal to 2 because they always go one bigger than what you started with. Okay, but we don't need that for the calculator. All right. What is the actual question then about number 1? I think there's like 4 parts. Would you be willing to read me the questions about number 1?
Common ratio.
Ah, stop. The 0.5 is not the common ratio. What's the common ratio? 1.5. This whole thing here, the thing you multiply by, that's the common ratio. This tells you the rate. But you can't say 0.5. What is the actual percent? Rates are percentages. 50%. So you'd write 50 with a percent sign, or I checked, I looked at the answer key. It'll take 50 or 50%, either one. Okay? What's the next question they ask?
Growth or decay.
Ah, is it growing? Yeah, the numbers are getting bigger, that's growth. Okay, what's the next question?
Percent change.
Ooh, percent. I looked at the answer key. You can either put 50 or 50%. Can't put 0.5. Why? Because 0.5 could be a percent. There is such a thing as 0.5%. It means half of a percent. So you can't put decimals there. If they're asking for a percent, you got to put 50 or 50%. All right, what's the last question?
Increase or decrease.
Ooh, that's easy. It's going up, so it's increasing. All right. Okay. The next problem is very much like that. I totally get some of you might have gotten a little lost in there, but this is the part where you have to advocate for yourself. And there was like 6 kids last hour that walked up and asked me questions. They got their questions answered. They went back to their seat totally understanding. People have a misconception about asking questions that if you're dumb, you ask questions. No. If you're dumb, you're going to sit there and just stay lost. That's dumb. If you're lost, you walk up and the teacher helps you and you walk back to your desk knowing how to do it. It'll only take me 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Okay, so walk up, ask me the questions. Don't just sit there lost. That's the worst thing. You can always ask the kid right next to you, hey, what'd you get on number 3? Or can you show me what you did on number 3? That's smart too. All right, that's all I got for the video for today.